And we are all set up and ready to go. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So last time we left off, we had fixed up our crude oil production. So we have enough of that to feed all the various factories we're using. And now we are back over here at the time crystals location, where we are going to start making some time crystals. Now, we have all the raw resources here. However, I'm not sure if I want to work forwards from the resources or backwards from the final product. And I think we work backwards from the final product because I'm not 100% confident on my math here in terms of how much we need. I'm pretty confident, but working backwards makes sure that I get it right. So, let's start off with just building a nice little wall up to here, and then over. So, step 1 is going to be the final assembly of time crystals, and we're going to work backwards from there. I don't know why I'm doing it this way instead of using my giant blueprint. Alright. So, we need some constructors. And those constructors are going to be just here, I guess. Alright, so these oh, they're not constructors, they're converters. Right. Alright. We had a blueprint for converters, I think, but I think it was for a bunch of them at once, whereas... So this is just one input to one output. So we need a lot of these, right? We need 960 divided by 12. We need 80 of these. Alright, that's kind of yikes. I guess let's make a blueprint then for them. And this is going to be so many of the various construction materials. Converters are not cheap. Now, if I had power shards, I could just do that and use less of these. But I don't currently have synthetic power shards, so we're sort of stuck on that front. Alright, so this should be a relatively simple thing. We just do like this, and then... How does this splitting work? If it's 80, I guess we can do just a regular, multi-step splitter. We could do a speed balancer, but the machines are too big for that, so it would be super awkward to do. So we're just going to have that. Add in some power lines. Make sure that those both get connected up. And then we can do the back. Actually, hang on. I just had a thought that will it'll make this marginally easier, I think. So if we just put a layer of foundation in, then I won't have to place the foundation and the blueprint. I can just place the blueprint, and it'll come with its own foundation. Alright, so now we grab our converters. And is it at all practical to fit more than 2 into a blueprint? So we need some space out front. Get 2, and then, yeah, there's just no way we're getting a third in. Okay, that's fine. Just wanted to check. Alright, so those have the recipes set. Then we give them the splitter. And then we give them the output mergers, which go there and there. Now, this is going to be 480 time crystals total, I believe, because we're getting 960 diamonds, and it's 2 to 1. So, a Mark IV belt will be able to handle them. And let's just have it auto-connect across. And both sides. And then we can save a little bit of space by making that not go all the way out to there. And by making this not go all the way out to here. Alright, so that is set up. And this is time crystals. Save the blueprint, clear the designer, and remove the designer. Wait, did I don't think I put power lines in. That's fine. We can do the power lines manually afterwards. It's not a big deal. Alright, so now we just need to start placing this blueprint everywhere. And we need it to be properly aligned. Okay, that's definitely not working. We need you to line up correctly with the existing things. Yes, there we go. And then we get it to line up like that. And then once we do this, then we can swap to blueprint build mode and we won't have to do it again. And we can just line this up here. And it is blueprint auto connect mode. So off we go. Just build in a whole lot of these. And then we're going to be short on all the inputs because it's insanely expensive. So yeah, I guess we can just sort of come back to this later. So we could just stand around here waiting for a bunch of time to get all of these placed. Or I could go work on other less expensive aspects of the factory and then come back every so often to place more of these guys in. And I think that's what we're going to do. So for now, let's get them powered up. And we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we are 1/8 of the way there. And I guess we can do some splitting for these before we do our next batch. Okay, that one needs to not be there. That needs to be further out of the way. And then it needs to power on these two. There we go. Alright, so those are the ones that I manually placed, which is why they're a little bit different. And then we have 5 of these. So am I going to be doing the 1 to 5 splitter now? Or am I going to be putting it off until later? Because we have 80, which means we have a 5 and then a bunch of 2s. Right, so 80 divided by 5 is 16. So if I do the 5s now, I'm going to have to do a bunch of them. So let's just do as many 1 to 2 splitters as we can, while that's still an option available. So you get that. Then we get another one. That didn't line up right. You go in to there. And then that one we'll have to deal with later. And maybe later is now. How many of these do we have? Oh, this isn't a blueprint, so we're going to have to get it to line up again. So that's annoying. Alright, so you go back to there. You're lined up vertically. And you're lined up horizontally with this weird gap. I guess let's just do a good old overlap. And pop that in there. And now this power line is in the way again somehow. Alright, but now we have spots where we can just put it in there, and it definitely won't be in the way of anything. And we can get all of these guys powered up. Wait, this is backwards, isn't it? Yep, that's backwards. Of course it is. Alright, so we hold it there. Confirm it's vertically lined up. Move you to be lined up like that, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's correct. Then we just push you into here with a big old overlap. And there you go. It's backwards again. Why is it backwards again? I could have sworn that I specifically turned it around this time. Okay, we've turned it around one more time. Hopefully it'll actually stay turned around. So we line it up, send it over, and there it is. Finally, we've succeeded at placing the blueprint. Alright, so then that goes in, and now I guess we just keep on placing a whole bunch of these guys. I don't know why they insist on being turned in a funny direction. But there we go, we get another 2 in. And that will let us get another splitter in. Like that. And then we bring the power pole along. So you can go there. And then just attach to a bunch of these guys. And I almost missed one, so there we go. So how many is this? This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So yeah, we're not quite a quarter of the way there. So that's fine. We will, I think at this point, SAM fluctuators are going up. Radio control units are maxed. Let's grab a bunch of those and grab a bunch of SAM fluctuators. And then we're just gonna move on because there's other stuff we have to do. So the next thing we can do is the particle accelerators that are going to be feeding this. So let's get some blueprints in there. And we want to give them enough space for nice, solid rest of this load balancer setup. Don't want to cramp it. Alright, so that is all set up. And now the particle accelerators. We are going to have them just be back here, probably. That's got to be enough space, right? It technically might be a little close. I don't know. Let's give them another row, just to be sure. So particle accelerators are going to be way back here. And we only need a couple of them, I think. So let's get them placed. Particle accelerator. I'm going to go back here. And there's one. I'm going to give it the settings now. So you are going to be making turbo diamonds. And you are going to be max overclocked and summer slooped. So that is 300 there. We need 960. Alright. So, I'd already determined that... Oh, right, because this can't go up that high because the input belts aren't fast enough. So this has to be down to that, so that the input coal belt is only 1200 per minute, which is all that we can handle. Alright, so we have that set, and then we need 4 of these. So let's get those in. 1, 2, 3. And let's try to keep these over this way because, I mean, they're going to be a bit off-centered just regardless, but this will help at least a little bit. Alright, SAM fluctuators, radio control units, and let's have another go at placing these guys down. We're just going to have to keep doing that every so often, make sure that they're not facing the wrong way. Alright, and we're just going to place down as many as we can, and then not up there. Don't know why you would want to be up there. We're going to place down as many as we can, and then just see how many that adds up to. Alright, so this foundation is going to have to go over to here. And we're probably going to need at least one more. Alright, so that is that. Now we put in our splitters. So you get a splitter, and you get a splitter. So these go across to there and to there. And then we just have to get them powered on. So let's bring a power pole over, attach it into all of these guys. And make sure to leave some free space on the power poles. So we're going to place another one over here. Alright, how many do we have? How many do we need? We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So we have 24 out of 80. That seems wrong. This seems more than 24. Alright, no, I think it is actually just 24. Alright. Well, that's probably going to take a while to get completely done. Can we... How many power shards do we have currently? Only 31? Okay, that's not nearly enough to overclock these Okay. I saw a train failure, but it fixed itself. Alright, it seems like the radio control units aren't much of a problem, but they are a little bit of a problem. SAM fluctuators continue to be the main limiting factor. Alright, so this is 960 diamonds. So these are going to merge up on it. That one doesn't need to be a Mark 6 belt. These need to all merge up onto a giant Mark 6 belt, which I need to make sure I keep straight, otherwise it'll be very ugly looking. So let's just make sure that these are all lined up. And Mark 6 goes across. All the way across to there. And we can't do much more with that until we figure out all of this splitting. So let's grab more SAM fluctuators and... oh, it's stopped completely. Okay, yeah, actually both of our SAM supplies have stopped completely. So I'm gonna have to go and figure out what's causing that, because we cannot build this without 20 billion converters. Now, if I recall correctly, our SAM production was up by the original factory up in the northwest. Remember, we belted the SAM quite a ways around the map. So let's get over there and see what's going on, because it definitely shouldn't be completely stopped. Alright, so here we have reanimated SAM. And it goes into this box. Then up here into this manufacturer, where we make 10 SAM fluctuators per minute. But it's worse than that because it's not a full belt of reanimated SAM. Alright, so that's the problem. The problem is that our storage has just run dry. Okay, so step 1 is going to be improve this reanimated SAM belt. Now this is nowhere near even a single belt. And hopefully we can do something about that with, you know, higher tier miners and such than what we had when we set it up. So we are going to have to go on a bit of a journey, because the source of SAM is not close. I guess it's convenient that I set it up this way with the reanimated SAM traveling, because it's much more compact. I'm not going to need to upgrade the belts in order to significantly increase the amount of production. So that was good thinking of past me. Although it does mean I have to run all the way over here to do anything, but I would have had to do that anyway, I think. And let's just hope I don't wind up wanting to upgrade this belt, because that would take forever. Okay, I should be scanning for summer sloops, actually, since I've used literally my entire supply. I pretty badly need to find more summer sloops, just for, like, random beneficial purposes. Like, I might want to summer sloop, like, this production line, for example, but I can't because I don't have any summer sloops. Alright, the belt just doubles back on itself because I didn't want to climb up that giant cliff, I guess. And then we go through this tiny little hole in the wall. And now we're in the Sinister Cave. Alright, up we go. And then we go down this way. Still no summer sloops in sight, which is not surprising since I've been here a billion times. Alright, we're approaching the miner now. This is also our quartz mine, by the way. Alright, so here we go. We have a miner Mark 1, which apparently that spider is in the way. Can I just blow you up? Apparently not. Do I even have a wacky? Yes, I do. Go away. And, alright, Miner Mark 3. And max overclocked 600 per minute. That's much better than 60 a minute. So we're going to need more constructors. Of course, there's another one of these guys. Get out of the way. Surface is too uneven. Of course it is. So let's make a nice even surface. Let's go to vertical mode and swap to 4-meter foundation so we can get just a little bit of height. Alright, so now we should be more or less above ground level. We can get a nice foundation here. Alright, so now we just have to place in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so these are all set up correctly. Actually, I don't need to have 10 of these. I could do 5 of them with 120 inputs. Alright, so we can do this and set these back up to their full throughput. And now we just have to get the belts in, which is gonna just be a line of splitters because they demand 120 resources, so we can just use Mark II belts. And this will, I believe, work just immediately. So the main belt goes across. And now we just have to connect you into there and get all these guys powered up. So that becomes Power Pole Mark III, which we're going to get all of these guys going. And then as far as outputs, we have 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So we need to upgrade to Mark III belts, which is going to be a bit of a nuisance. I was worried I'd have to do that, but it's better to have to do that than to not have enough SAM. Alright, so that is that. Then we take this, and we're going to send it over here, disconnect you, and connect you. And now we just have to run along this giant belt, clicking upgrade everywhere. So off we go. And okay, I might want to use faster than Mark III belts just to get it traveling faster. Yeah, it's got a long enough way to go that I think I'm just gonna use Mark V belts. Mark VI belts are still a bit pricey in terms of like their resources, so let's just use Mark Vs and get out of the way. There we go. Alright, I don't know how I even built this the first time around. I do not know how I possibly built this with all those guys crawling around. I must have just waited for them to be out of the way. Oh boy, the water. Ah, the water. Alright, so that got built. And now we are out. And we keep on building. Just keep building. Mark V belts are fast enough that the sand can just about keep up with me as I go. Actually, it seems like it can more than keep up with me. As opposed to if we've been using Mark III belts, it would have been trailing behind us the whole time and it would have been awful. Alright, so this should be pretty good at letting us know when we have a bottleneck, because it'll be either completely cramped like this when there's one ahead of us, or virtually empty if there's one behind us that we missed. Alright. Of course there's more of these guys in the way. Get out of the way. You get out of the way. Where are you? Alright. How are you still alive? There we go. Alright. Spiders dealt with. And now we just keep this going. And we just run along. Almost there. We're making progress. We're most of the way. I just have like a third of the trip left. And hopefully this third of the trip won't have spiders standing on the belts preventing me from upgrading them. Alright, go. That is still fully saturated, as it should be. Okay, we went through a little bit of a gap here without power, but we're right back in it. And we just keep on going. Gotta not misclick and try to build a new belt on the ground. Alright, off we go. Just one final push up this hill. And we should be there. Alright, don't have power right now. We do, however, have some pretty fast belts to stand on. Alright, so that now is going to be filling this box up super fast. And the actual amount we have is 150. Let's So we can just do that. And that. And that should be perfect. So once this obviously is going to have a lot of backlog on the belt, but once that backlog goes away, this will be exactly the correct amount of reanimated SAM. And that is that. So if I had 4 more summer sloops, I would put them in here to make this go at 50 a minute and get through that even faster. But I do not. Alright, so yeah, that is where the backlog ends, and now we're just going to be stable like this forever. 25 SAM fluctuators a minute means that our converters, we can make one every 4 minutes, and we need to place like 60, 50 or 60 still. So let's see here, 50 times 4 is 200 minutes, which I guess we do also have a pretty significant head start. We have a lot still in the inventory here. So I guess we'll just have to deal with that. And let's make our way back. Alright. Oh, that's not good. Oh, I managed to dodge. Alright. I went a bit too high to cut through that gap between the floors. So I had to do a quick juke to not crash and lose all of my momentum. Alright, speaking of crashing, okay, we live. I didn't quite have enough fuel to fully course correct. Probably because of that near crash midway through. Alright. So we have all of this, and we just need to keep expanding it as much as possible. So build mode, blueprint, auto connect, and we just get a couple more of these guys in. Alright, and now we are out of SAM fluctuators for real. And we're just gonna have to wait for production to come through. And in the meantime, we can do the rest of this. Alright, so how much more splitting can we do here? How many of these do we need still? Are we still less than halfway? I feel like we're probably still less than halfway, which is awful. Alright, I only managed to place in 3 more here. This requires so many SAM fluctuators, it's absolutely insane. Alright, so each of this second row represents 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 28, 30. So I have 50 to go. Yikes. Alright. Well, not much we can do about that aside from just wait. SAM fluctuators are going to be coming in, and it'll probably be something that we have to finish either right at the end of this stream or more likely like the beginning of next stream or so. So, in the meantime, we can just go back here and start doing the rest of this. So, we have our turbo diamonds here, and these need to be powered. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so those are all powered, and now we need to get some blueprints for foundations behind them so that we can then get them all connected up. So these are obviously each going to need their own individual belt of 1200 coal per minute, and then they're also going to need a batch of 80, so that's 320 total packaged turbo fuel. So the coal we're just going to have come from directly below, and that will be from the train network, which we can deal with in a minute. For now, I just want to focus on building more machines. So these all go in like this. And then the next step is the packaged turbo fuel. So that is just going to get a 1-to-4 splitter. So we go out to there and out to there. There we go. That's all in. This is 80 a minute, right? Right. Which means it needs Mark II belts, but not anything super crazy, honestly. Could be a lot worse. And then we just need to get the full splitter in. So we go Mark III belts out to there, and then we have our belt of 320 packaged turbo fuel. Now, we're just going to have to package that. So, how much of these do we need to package the turbo fuel? We need 16 of them, which is actually a considerable amount. It's more than I thought it would be. And packaged turbo fuel, just give it enough space there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And let's expand it over this way as well, just to keep it somewhat balanced. 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's all the machines. A whole lot of packaging. And we run some foundations along there. And we can just connect all these up via merger and stick them on the Mark IV belt. And that will be that. Okay, so I guess we're going to have them loop back in towards the center after sort of going off to the side for a bit. Alright, so then we have our Mark I belts in here. And then we just have to get the Mark IV belt across. And then we'll have all of our packaged turbo fuel. Annoyingly, this recipe destroys the packages, so we're not going to get to recycle them. Just going to have to be producing more packages every time, which is a minor nuisance. Alright, so then that belt goes in there. And that is all set up. Okay, so that is the turbo fuel packagers. So now we have the fun part. So these have to get input belts and pipes. Now we can do a speed balancer here, where we have these as groups of 3, which makes 60. And then just limit that based on a belt manifold thing. I've done this many times. Alright, so that goes in. Just have one more of these, and then this sort of little overflow extra one. Alright, so now we get our smart splitters, which go along here and all the way across. Now these get Mark 1 belts going into the other splitters to guarantee the correct ratios. And how much canisters is this? It's just going to be 320. So that can be a Mark 4 belt going down the main line. And then into this last one. Now we have to set these to left any center overflow, which should be nice and quick. Just go along like this, and they're all set up. Alright, so next step is the fluid pipes, where we need 320 turbo fuel. And that is going to go, actually let's have it centered on a foundation, just so that I don't get it messed up. That's correct. Yes, that's correct. So then that just goes up, and we keep going forwards the rest of the way until it runs out of space again, and then we finish it off. Now all of these guys get junctions, and we're going to have to... This might cause problems because fluid manifolds, but we should have plenty of space in the pipe, so it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, this is 320 in a pipe that can carry 600, so it should be okay. But it is going to do the whole thing where it manifolds across and takes a very long time to warm up, which is not my preference. So this just all goes forwards. And technically, I think you can do something load balancing adjacent with pipes, but I've never done that, and I'm probably not going to start now. Alright, so that is all attached up. Now we just need to get them powered. So let's get these in, just get them all connected, and then can we bring you back to connect up to something that already has power, just so we can see we did miss one. That's why we do that. Alright, so these all get powered, and then one last batch over here. Alright, so that is the turbo fuel packaging done. Turbo fuel packaging complete, and then that goes into there, which will then eventually go into there once we have that set up. And speaking of SAM fluctuators, we are still hilariously low on them. But they're not fully stopped, right? Just check. Nope, they're still going. Still going very slowly. Alright. So, this is all set up once we get the turbo fuel and empty canisters in. So our next step is going to be the empty canister production, which we can just do over here. And that is incredibly straightforward. It is just a bunch of constructors. And these constructors are going to be making empty canisters. Where are you? Okay. And out of plastic. So that's 320 packages, so 160 plastic, I think. Alright, so that you can just copy paste to there, so that's 60, 120, 180, I have caps lock on for some reason. 180, 240, 300. And then, alright, so I'm trying to hit a hotkey and it's not working. There we go. Alright, so that is 60 times 6 is 360, which is more than the 320 we need. So 320 divided by 6 to each of these guys. And we can paste that across. There we go. Then these guys need their splitters to go to get the plastic. And the plastic, fortunately, we don't have to mess around with anything there. We have an external plastic production which has us covered for this. Okay, these belts need to be Mark II actually. So you're Mark II and you are Mark II. And then we have this, which is our plastic input, which is Mark III, and just comes from the floor below. Okay, now we just have to get all these powered on, and that will be that. Alright, so then power line goes across. They're powered up. And they merge out. And then we just have to have this line connect up with the other line, and we'll be good to go. So we go like that. We make the main line Mark IV so that can handle 320. And then this has to curve over to there. And that's all set up. Okay, so that is the plastic done. The coal is there, the plastic is there. The only thing left is the turbo fuel, which I believe we're just doing default recipe for, because we want to be making as much fuel as possible because the blender recipe is so efficient. Yeah, so we're just going to be doing turbo fuel, so let's get the refineries for that. And we're going to need some nice giant blocks, because refineries are big, and I think we're going to need quite a few of them. Alright, so this goes out like so, and that should be enough space. So now we can pop a refinery in, and this refinery is making turbo fuel 18.75 per minute. And we need 320 divided by 18.75 is 17.06. So basically we need 18 of these guys. Now I'm pretty sure I have relevant blueprints for this. Let's see here. I have 2x refinery and 4x refinery. Let's use 4x refinery, although this is for solid outputs. Do I have... Is 3x refinery good? Alright, I don't know what it's trying to sink it into the ground for. Alright, so this is set up for only fluid inputs and 2 types of outputs. Okay, what about 2x refinery? Does this... No, that's also only solid outputs. It's kind of incredible that I have all of these refinery blueprints, and yet I do not have one for this situation. I probably do, and I just don't know where it is. But let's make a new one. So we go special, blueprint Mark II, and refineries. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4. And these refineries are going to be set to make turbo fuel. And we paste that across. So we need 2 types of inputs, 1 type of output. So we need a 1, 2, 4 splitter here. So that just goes in like that and like that. Now this is going to be theoretically 60 actually if we go at full speed for the compacted coal. And I don't think I'm going to go full speed, but it means that Mark I belts are fine for this whole region. Now we just take you across to there. And we give you the junctions. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, now we can go out to the back, and you just have a... just turbo fuel. So you just have a pipe output and nothing else. So we go like that, and not having power over here is certainly annoying. But we have it over here, so we can hover a little bit. So off we go, and done. And now we just get them connected up to a power pole. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is going to be two inputs to fluid output refinery. Okay, we can just get rid of that. 2 inputs to fluid refinery. Sure. That's a kind of a convoluted name for it, but whatever. Alright, so then this goes here. And we just sort of place them down. So there you go. We should be able to blueprint auto-connect these. 4, 8, 12, 16, and then let's add one more on this side just to keep it nice and approximately balanced. There, so we have 20, and we need 320, so this is 320 divided by 20 is a nice clean 16 turbo fuel per refinery. So let's run along, pasting all of these guys. It's weird having this set up in this order where nothing is going to be running until I'm completely finished. But there we go. Alright, so now we just have to attach that in. Let's just attach it in multiple spots to help minimize manifolding problems. So we just do something like that. So both sides and the middle, and it should be pretty easy to manage from there. So now we just have to bring power poles across, which we can do like that. And then across to all these refineries. Just a couple more. There we go. Refineries done. That's turbo fuel made. So now the only thing we need to worry about is fuel and compacted coal. So let's do fuel next. We need 19.2 times 20 is 384 fuel. Good, that's what my notes said I needed. And if I plop a blender down and tell you to make diluted fuel, we're going to have 4 of these. Actually, do I have a blueprint for blenders? I'm sure I do, right? I have 2 solid, 2 fluid blender, which is overkill. So I don't have any solid inputs for this, but that's fine. Oh, but this only outputs, this doesn't have the fluid outputs, and I only need 4 of these anyways. Yeah, I can just do these manually. It's fine. All right, so let's get some foundations and some blenders. 1, 2, 3, 4 blenders. And diluted fuel, 384 divided by 4. That's 96. Paste that across. And now we just have to get our pipe going. So this comes across to there and then a little bit further. Reconnect you up all the way. And then get those in. Alright, now for this, we are just going to, again, have this attach in at 3 spots. Although they're not quite going to be... Actually, yeah, let's have them be the absolute edges. So you can come over here, go in there. That's central-ish. Hard to say exactly, but it's close. And that should be relatively well distributed. So now we need to deal with the fluid inputs for this, and we also need to grab power over here so that we don't fall out of the sky, as we are about to do. Alright, and we can cover over the solid inputs, that's fine, this recipe doesn't use them. Alright, so this pipe goes along ground level, like this. And then this pipe back here goes up and across. And now we put the junctions in, and then we get them attached in. So that and that, and just a bit of clicking on pipes, and then we will be set up for that. And now we power these on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that is another line of machines sorted. So then the next thing we need back here is we need our compacted coal. And we need, how much do we say? We need 256. That's 12.8 times 20. Yes, indeed. So we have to do a 1 to 5 balancer here. That's annoying. Alright, so let's get that in. And how much does each of these even take? Less than 60? Right, we'd established that. Alright, cool. So that one is going to loop back for our 1 to 5 splitter. Then we get the rest of these guys set up. Like that. And like this. We might have to move the pipes a little bit to make room for this, although we also might not, who can say. Alright, so then we have these 3 getting split out, and we're going to use Mark IIs for them. So that goes out there. This one comes all the way out to there. And then we have our priority merger, which is going to take the loop back from over here and into that input. And then it is going to take the fresh input from over here, I guess. Now, compacted coal, there's only the... Okay, there's technically other recipes, but not in practice. Those are just byproduct things. So yeah, it's just some assemblers. So let's get those in, and I believe it'll work out that like the number of assemblers we want is going to be 12. Let's actually check, because I might have just misread it there. Yeah, so this is 25 per minute. We need 256, which is just barely more than 10, and 11 is a terrible number, so we're going to be going with 12 assemblers. So we can just grab this blueprint, and this is going to be going a floor up, which is mildly inconvenient, but again, nothing too serious. Alright, so this can actually fit in like here. So that is 3. Oh, don't fall off. Don't fall off, and then you can get powered up. So that is 3, 6, 9. Of course, the power doesn't reach. Over we go. And one more. So that is 12 assemblers. Now we just have to set them to make compacted coal. Compacted coal, and this is 256 divided by 12. which is some weird number, as expected. Then we paste this all the way across. And there we go. Now, how fast is this belt? This is a Mark II belt. It needs to be a Mark III. So let's make sure that that upgrade gets made. All the way across, even though it technically only needs to be the first little bit across. There we go. And now we just have to get this down into there. So let's put a floor hole, which is going to take there, and down we go. And you can then attach into that. And I set the priorities up there. Yes, I did. Alright, so then this, we just need to finish powering it up. And then finish connecting it up. Is this 1-to-1 for the inputs? Yes, it is. So we are going to get our splitters in. And these, I believe, need to be Mark IIs. Like that. And then we need a Mark III that's facing backwards. We need a Mark III there and all the way over to here. Alright, so that is that. How's Sam going? Still pretty awful, but it is making some slight progress. So that's something. Alright, so then we just have to drop down and set up these guys with their belts and foundations and everything. Alright, so we have that. Now we just have to go splitter. Just doing that ahead of time. So you get a belt, you get a belt. And then you get 2 splitters as well. And you. And you. Okay, then... Wait, this one doesn't need a second splitter. That one's receiving the second splitter. So then we have those, which probably just barely need to be Mark IIIs. Actually, did I do that right here? I did. Cool. Alright, so now we have those inputs. And that can go across to there. So you get to go into a floor hole. And input into that. You get to go into a floor hole, which goes down a floor. And inputs into that. And I still don't know which one of these is going into which one, but they're interchangeable, so that's fine. Alright. So that is coal and sulfur, which are raw resources. Which means that that line is finished for now until we go and attach the raw resources in. So the next step is the blender. So we just need to get fuel. So we need half as much heavy oil residue as we have fuel. So that is 384 divided by 2 is 192 heavy oil residue, which aligns with my previous calculations, which is always a great sign. So let's get one of these guys in. And you are the one I'm looking for, I believe. So we just need to place this refinery blueprint in and then figure out what it's going to take in terms of numbers. We need 192. This single-handedly makes 120. So we just need one more of these, and that's all the heavy oil residue we need. Blueprints. And this is going to be another one of these guys, which lines up like that. Alright, we're right on the edge of power, so let's attach that up so that we have some and we don't have to worry about falling off the edge. Then we get that across, and we just put those floors in there. Okay, so this gives us 192 divided by 6. So we paste that all the way across. And that is going to give us 64... Okay, but it's going to give us 16 times 6, so 96 polymer resin, which I guess we can use to make plastic, because we are using plastic here. So we can just take that into 2 refineries. Alright, so first we need this belt to be Mark II, which is going to be a bit of a mess of clicking amidst all these pipes and everything. But I think we got it. Alright, so now we have that. This is Mark I pipe, which is, I guess, technically fine. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. It's not gonna break anything because we're gonna have more than enough capacity here anyways. So that connects in to the top one up there. Then we need to have space for our plastic. Now our plastic gets used over here, right? This is the plastic input, which means we want our polymer resin to plastic to be somewhere in this side of things to sort of just get it over there. So I guess we can fit them in this area here. And I believe it's just 2, right, for residual plastic. And this is... Okay, so the input is 96 divided by 2. So 96 divided by 3, that's the ratio, is 32. So this should be 16. Yes, so that's 16. Paste that across. Both of those get 48 polymer resin each. And then we are all good. So we just have a splitter to there and to there, and a pipe which is going to go across this way, feeding water in. That, I don't trust that. I do not trust that. So I'm going to dismantle it and replace it. Alright, so that is back in, and then this pipe down here is the water pipe, so we're just going to connect that up. And then we have this plastic is going to merge up. And it's not that much, but hey, every little bit counts, right? No point wasting marginally more plastic than we need to from the other factory. So this comes back here, and then it's going to need to go around this. So you just go around here, and then back around here, and then we're just going to need to mess with you a little bit. So you get a priority merger, which is priority right, and then you get your floor hole, which, how much plastic was this? I can't remember. It's a decent chunk of plastic, and we're just gonna help a little bit with that. Alright, so now we just need to power these guys up and then connect them in to the polymer resin. So we have that, and then this pipe, this belt annoyingly has to turn right around and go over this way. Sort of the hazard of dealing with blueprints is that things are facing the wrong way sometimes. But there we go. Alright, so that is all set up back to crude oil. So, what do we need to do? We need to fill crude oil into this pipe. We need to fill water into this pipe. How much water, actually, is it going to be a problem? This is 384. This is like an additional, like, 32. Alright, so yeah, water goes into here. Crude oil goes into there. Sulfur and coal go into there. Plastic goes over there. And a billion coal goes into there. And then we just need to make that connection. And then it will be all set. Okay, so because that is not going to be done anytime soon, I will set up an awesome sink here in the meantime. So you get a smart splitter, and it is left overflow center any. And yeah, so that's a lot of diamonds that are going to be going into that sink once this is booted up. So let's just power that on. And we have to leave this space clear for a little bit of extra work. Alright, so now it is time to start connecting in the raw resources. And I think we start with sulfur because it's going to take the longest. Because we actually have to drop down to ground level to get it. But that is a pure node, so it's plenty. It's just a matter of us getting it. And it's sort of up this way. And we're gonna have to... Actually, let's just work backwards. So it's imported right back here, I think. So I think the easiest thing will be to just drop this belt down and grab it from there. And then we're going to bring up one pipe of water, which is probably worth just doing power poles for. Alright, so what we need is we need a ladder down to the surface, and this top row doesn't need to exist. So this ladder is going to go down, and it's going to bring power with it. Like so. And then we also need a water pipe. So we need to bring power down. Yeah, we need to bring the power for the pumps on the water pipe. And then we need to bring the sulfur belt as well, which can be either that one or that one. And I'm going to choose this one because it is closer. And it needs to be Mark 3 or faster, so let's do Mark 3. So this goes down, and we keep on going down. Is this connected? I feel like this isn't connected properly. Can I... Let's see. So that power line does go up to there. That is... So why was it then that when I'm right next to these allegedly attached power poles that it's not charging my hover pack? And it says that they are not connected to anything. What the? Okay. That's connected to something. That says it's only connected to one thing. What if I dismantle you and rebuild? Alright, that was a weird glitch. I don't think I've ever seen something like that before. But we got it working again, so that's fine. So let's get the lift going down as well. And then the ladder. Oh, I must have placed two overlapping. And that is what caused the problems. I think I've probably done it again. So hopefully we don't have continued problems from that. So down we go. And we bring the... Where is our hotbar? Alright, so this just keeps going down, and we're going to bring the water pipe up with us. On our way back. Or did I place that backwards? I think I placed that one backwards. Yeah, I sure did. Alright. That doesn't ultimately matter, really. It's just kind of annoying. So that can be placed on that side of the belt, and then we just continue going down. Alright. Are those... Alright, so these ones are now correct again. So we have to bring this power down here. And keep going. We are basically there now. Oh, I almost fell for a second. That was a bit spooky. Alright, so this belt comes down. And... Oh, this is my limestone mine. Actually, I'm pretty sure I saw, just like as I was passing through, that we were a little bit low on limestone. So I might want to just fix that real quick while I'm here. Alright, so this, we're now down to surface level. And we have a power pole here. But we need to go even further down, apparently. Because this is a giant outcropping. Alright, so we go down to here. So this is a miner Mark II, and it's outputting its entire belt worth. If I wanted to fix that, I would need to like run a whole additional belt, which doesn't sound very fun at all. Okay, let's get like the bottom half of this pipe going, because we are going to need it. So you can start by like going up to there, and then the other half can go down this way. And you just have to find a place on the ground to land safely, if there is anywhere, which doesn't seem like there is. Alright, so let's just pop a foundation like there. And then this can go down and land on that foundation, hopefully. If I can find it again. There it is. Alright, so now we have that. And from here, the pipe should be able to get down to ground level. Alright, so the water is actually right over that way. So let's do a quick turnaround and head over there. Down you go. And then we get our water extractors in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we just have to spam a whole bunch of junctions and pipes around until they're all connected up. Like so. Alright, next step is power. So let's grab that power pole and upgrade you to a Mark III, and then connect you to all these water extractors. So there we go. And we connect that pipe into that. And put a pump onto here. So you can go up. And I don't know how far up that's going to get it, but hopefully most of the way. Okay, then this conveyor belt needs to not clip directly through the pipe. So you can just go around, and now we are off on a quest for some sulfur. So we are just going to go over this way. Now this one, this miner Mark II, I believe I can upgrade and have it be beneficial. Because that's still seemingly a Mark IV belt. So having that output 480 instead of 240 will accelerate that. And I could get it even more with overclocking, but that is not the main goal of the day, so I'm not going to. Alright, so instead we are going to continue taking this sulfur belt up here. We need to gain a bunch of height again. And these stupid trees make it so hard to see anything at all. Alright, so now we're up here. Where is this sulfur? Is it in this general... Is it up top, or is it like in a cave somewhere? I hope it's up top. Yeah, here it is. Alright, so miner Mark III. Just pop you on there. That's 480 a minute. Let's bring a giant power line up here so we can get you powered on. And now we just have to bring this belt down to wherever I left the other one, which could be anywhere. Okay, there it is over there. So this goes over to here. And then we just sort of need to go off the edge a little bit. And then conveyor lift down. Straight through the annoying trees. And then we just go over there and connect up. Alright, so there comes the sulfur, and it looks like that's a full Mark III belt, which is 270, and we need 256, so that is good. Okay, so the sulfur is acquired. The next step is the water. So the water has somehow made it all the way up to here off of that one pump, which seems incredible to me, but whatever. Not going to question it. We're going to put another pump on and get that pump powered. And that should be working. Doesn't look like it is. Okay, so it looks like the head lift might have actually died somewhere around here. Let's check down on this pump. You're giving the max head lift you can, which means we need to go up to, I don't know, maybe there, and get you set up. So you're going, and that means that you are now 43.8 head lift. Very good. That's close enough for me to be happy about it. Then this one in here is doing 52.6, so we're gonna need you to get fixed. Now, unfortunately, most of that section is straight through a rock, so probably going to waste a bit of head lift. Alright, so now this should be much nicer. Yeah, and now we are just up to here, where it'd be nice if those little indicators that showed where the head lift went to existed, but I guess those are just not necessary. Okay, there's one there actually, so we can get you powered up, and you are going, and this one down here is doing 49.3. Alright, the number keeps creeping up towards 50, but it isn't at 50, which means I think we did it right. Very nice. Alright, so then this one is obviously not getting anything done because it's just pointed off into the void. So that one goes there and gets powered up back down that way. And now we need to just drag the pipe up the rest of the way. Like so. And get more of these pumps in. There we go, and another one there. And we just keep on going up. We just keep on going up until we are at the factory itself. Okay, that should get us quite a ways before we have to place more. So the head lift maxes out around there. And that goes in. Then we get another one up there. And we just keep going. Like there. And down to there. Okay, so now we have to place more pipes because we are at the top of where we got to last time. And now we are now at the floor we need to be at. So let's get a floor hole just like over there somewhere. And then that goes in. Alright, so that can snap onto that headlift indicator, which is a thing they can do, but I don't really trust them most of the time. So there we are, and then that ought to be enough. So now we just send that pipe into there, and we have water. Alright, so the water can go through, fill up all those. The sulfur is going as well. Alright. So our next step is going to be crude oil to back here. Which I'm pretty sure for most of this stuff we just want to be like down here on a logistics floor. So you can go down like that, and then we are going to get a wall or two, and then our foundation. Alright, so now we can get the pipe onto this foundation and bring it all the way over to where our crude oil demand is. And that's just going to require dragging a really long floor. So we just go all the way over here. And then once we're in this area, we can turn over this way and connect up to our crude oil train, which is this one. So we got plenty of crude oil in here, and we don't even need like a quarter of a pipe. So we can just connect this up the lazy way. So we just have a pipe going across like that. And wait, no, not on the inputs, on the outputs. So all these go in, and then they get connected up. Alright, so that is all connected up. And now we just need you to go up into that floor hole. Right up there. And then you come out. And you come over this way. Alright, so this pipe just has to connect up with that other pipe. And then we will have crude oil. We might need a pump as well. We're probably going to need like one pump for this whole thing. Alright, so that goes along and in. Alright. Crude oil attached in theory, though not in practice. Let's go back and get that last bit done. We just need a pump on this. Just somewhere, anywhere, one pump should be more than enough. And there we are. So how much head lift are you providing? 17, looks like 18-ish. Alright, so that is crude oil done. So we have crude oil done, we have sulfur done. So the only two things left are the coal and the plastic. So, plastic goes in here. That is this floor hole. So let's bring our foundation out a little bit. And down you go. And then this can go around that way. And around this way. And we just keep on going with this back to our plastic trains. Okay, this backup is intentional because we just need to have a constant string of trains coming in to keep up with the coal demand. So that's not a problem. So we get a floor hole there, which is going to feed that belt. And then come down to there. Once again, we do not need that much to go off of, so we can just set up the nice, convenient single belt that just gets merged up across all of these guys. And then they all can output a Mark III. And then that goes in. Why is that? Okay, that's definitely outputting this way. Is there another? Of course there is. Why are there two of these? How did that even get there? I don't think I've ever made that mistake before. Or whatever. It's fine. We just connect all of you up. Like so. And that is plastic check. Alright, plastic down. Everything else down. The coal supplies look good. We have our 4 belts of 1200, and then our spare belt is very nearly 1200 as well. Alright, so then these are buffered properly. So we won't have any problems with any of that. Alright, so for the coal belts, we need to get these 4 belts there into these 4 belts there, and then we need to get the 5th belt all the way over there by the sulfur. And it has to be specifically this one which goes there. Alright, so step 1 is we need to bring all of these up onto another floor. So let's get that foundation going across. And you are going to be first one we deal with. You go up this way. Like that. And we're going to have to set all of these to be left any center overflow. And we're going to have to get all of them. There we go. And one more. Alright. So now we just continue going along, getting these guys placed. And they actually have a bit of a complicated path to get there, just because we can't merge up or split them in any way, or we'll have problems. Well, technically we could split them, it just wouldn't be beneficial. Alright, so those are all set to transport their coal. And then we have this last one over here, which I might as well bring up now as well. So up you go. And I don't think you need a Mark 6 belt. I think you only need like Mark 3, but whichever way is fine. Alright, so that is all good. Now we need them to all get over to there. So they need to get to the other side of this section. Like, they need to get over here, basically. And they need to be aligned in a useful way. So you can go over to that one. And then you can go over to that one. And I think we want, like, those two, because they both have to go over that way. Alright, and this should be... There should be enough space for all of these, I think. We're not quite in the way of the trains yet. Although we're reasonably close to being in the way of each other. So let's get all of these connected up. And stop doing weird connections that no one wants. Just come out of the floor hole. Why would you do that? Just come out of the floor hole like a normal belt. Thank you. Okay, so I think we want you to go straight mode. You to go straight mode. And then we want these to come forwards like this. Alright, you need to do a little bit of curving like that. And you need to go out like that. Alright, so that you can go across to there. And then we just have to get the rest of these guys sorted out. So you come around to there and up a little bit. I don't know why that one's elevated, but it doesn't matter. So then these two come around to here. Actually, that one being elevated is mildly convenient because it lets me cut underneath it a little bit. Alright, so that is that. So now the coal is up to this level. And I don't know what you're doing. But if we just... Yeah, okay. What are you up to? Weird stuff is the answer. Alright, can you just connect in like a ordinary belt? We are going to have you have that bit of elevation because it worked out quite well. And then you go up there. Alright, so now we just have to do these connections. And it's going to be crazy to see these guys actually going at full speed. I have to make sure to stop and look at them. It's like, just feeding individual machines like this is insane. Like, it would be one thing if this was a whole giant row of machines, but no, it's one particle accelerator per belt. Alright, so now we are out to here. And we need you to come down. We need you to come down. And you to come down. Then these guys have to pop out of their floor holes. And these ones point to the side so that we can bring them across. Alright, now all that is done. We just need you to go in like that. And then we need to bring this next one over a little bit further. And in. Alright. So now, I guess, I could have sworn I'd connect those up, but I guess not. Alright, so that is now going. So that is all the coal except for the super distant far guy. So we need you to go just sort of way over that way. And there we go. For some reason, the Mark 6 lifts struggle to get placed properly. I don't know why that is. But anyways, this belt is going to come all the way over here to the other side of the factory where the sulfur is. And that will, I believe, be the last input before we can start making diamonds. Alright, so let's fly back here and go forwards. Alright, so our destination is all the way over here. And we need just a platform to go this way. And a little bit further. Alright, so now we are lined up approximately correctly. We just sort of have to build that out a little bit, and then this comes down. And this only needs to be a Mark III belt. So let's get that set up. Like so, and now we just have to connect this up. And going from the Mark 6 down to Mark III will be kind of wacky, but it's what we gotta do. Alright, so that connection gets made, and that should be making our compacted coal, which should then be getting everything else running. Alright, now let's hop up and see what's going on. So we're making heavy oil residue. We are capped out on fuel because this isn't going to have any compacted coal because we're waiting on the coal, which should show up very soon. Like any second now. Yeah, there it is. Just has to go up and then over a little bit. And then we'll have our compacted coal production, which will make our turbo fuel. Turbo fuel will then go into this. Alright, I don't see any empty canister production, which should be happening. Ah, I see. The classic rookie mistake. Need to connect that up to that. Alright, so that will also be important to drain all of this plastic out of this line, which otherwise we would have a polymer resin backlog, which would be pretty bad. And that will it'll just drain it all out and then start using more of the fresh input plastic once that's done. It'll still be using some. Alright, and we have our empty canisters going along. And they are filling up all these guys. Still no compacted coal. Ah, again, another instance of me cleverly not connecting things across. Actually, that one might need to be a Mark IV because it has the loop back belt. Alright, so we have our compacted coal. It's going into the machines to make turbo fuel. And this one's about to start. There we go. That is a tick of turbo fuel being made. And this should be like the first-ish one to be finished because it's just the closest to the compacted coal. So there we are. We are now officially making turbo fuel. There is some turbo fuel in these pipes, although not that much at the moment. And then we're going to have to package it and then send it forwards into the particle accelerators, where it should all be good. So SAM fluctuators still not going so great, but we can at least get a couple more placed in. So let's go here. Time crystals. They're in blueprint auto connect mode as they should be. Now they're facing the right way. Alright, and now we are low on both radio control units and SAM fluctuators, which is fine. How many of these things have I placed by now? It's gotta be a fair amount, right? Alright, so let's do the counting. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34. So we are not even halfway. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. That is a lot of converters. And I feel like our SAM fluctuator supply must still have some problem with it. There's no way that this is like the fully... There's no way that this is 25 a minute, right? Like, let's check. SAM fluctuator. It should be like 1 every 2 seconds. And that is much worse than 1 every 2 seconds from what I'm seeing. I mean, yeah, that's just taking ages. Alright. So, we're going to have to stop back at the old base to see what's going on with that. In the meantime, we do have turbo fuel coming out. And 2,000 megawatts per machine. Is that... Yikes. So the actual consumption, we still have like 100k spare. Max consumption is getting up there, though, which I do not love. That can go up to like 7,500 depending on what part of the cycle it's in. That is disgusting. Alright, so that has gotten some, and it's produced a little bit. It's not running at full speed yet. We don't have full turbo fuel yet. Although this does look like it is going. I mean, the fuel is totally backlogged here. So, yeah, this is producing the correct amount of turbo fuel. So it's just a matter of all of these pipes filling up. And since we're not exactly moments away from getting 100% production anyways, let's just turn a bunch of these guys off. And that will get the turbo fuel going through much better. So we don't want to turn all of them off, obviously, because then it wouldn't fill any of the internal buffers. But if we get like half of them turned off, or more than half, then these buffers will fill up, and we will eventually get there. So this first one is already full, actually. So we can turn it off, and that won't break anything. And then we just sort of have to wait. The turbo fuel still looks solid. It looks like it's going at 100%. Although, what's happening here? Why is that not connected up properly? Yeah, weird, okay. Don't know what that was about, but you need to actually be connected in order to work. Alright, so this is another one which is fully saturated, so we can turn it off. And even just getting the pipes saturated will be hugely useful. So this one is going. We have very little turbo fuel demand right now because we have like 80% of the machines. We have literally these 3 machines currently on. And let's keep decreasing that number, I guess. The old manually filling up a fluid manifold. Right, the amount we're producing. Why are you yellow? Okay, so you are, I guess, struggling because of the lack of compacted coal because of that loop not being correct. So it's a very, very minor decrease in productivity. You can be turned off now. As can you. As can you. So now I believe we are all idle. And we are just going to be filling up as many pipes with turbo fuel as we can. And hopefully the compacted coal shortage will also get dealt with. All these belts, do they look saturated? It's probably fine. It's probably fine. I'm going to choose to believe that it's okay. So we just want these pipes to be full of turbo fuel, so that we can turn this all back on and have them running continually. And it looks like we're just about getting there. So I want to get to the point where there's a extra turbo fuel left in the output machines at all times. Like that, we almost got there, but we're not quite. We still have a little bit of space in the machines left to fill. What recipe is it that requires packaged turbo fuel? It is the Turbo Diamond alt recipe. So I need a lot of diamonds for time crystals, and turbo diamonds are the way I'm doing that. But yeah, it's basically like the only recipe that I know of, at least, that actively consumes packaged items without giving you the packages back, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. Kind of weird, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's a very late game one that is also kind of niche unless you need an insane amount of time crystals, which I do. So there we go. These are all getting reactivated one by one. And as long as their internal buffers are all filled, then everything is good. Alright, then we do this one. And the turbo fuel production is starting to exist again. Then we do this. And just a couple more. These last couple, I believe, are already pre-buffered from when I was shutting them down. So we're almost done. We should be able to flip the last couple on all in one big group. Yeah, so let's do that. And that. And you. And you. And done. Alright, so assuming that we actually have the turbo fuel output and these have all figured out how to be at 100%, then that should be all good. And then we're getting our diamonds out. Oh, this is 240 a minute. So these need to be Mark 3s in order to output fast enough. I forgot how insane these machines are. Lots and lots of outputs. Alright, so that is going. And currently just being sunk because we haven't set up our row of converters yet. And yeah, we need to go stop by the original starter base and see if there's anything else we can do to make sand fluctuators go even a little bit faster. Because this current production is ridiculous. So off we go. And we are making our way to the space elevator. Alright, and then a little bit past it. So we've got this. I see, it's the pipes. Okay. So this isn't getting 75 steel pipes a minute. So you need to go like that. And then this whole line needs to be upgraded. And how many steel pipes are we even making? Hardly any is the answer. We're making 20. Alright, well, step one, let's make you be 50. Which is going to require a lot more steel from back here. Which it seems like we have, so that's probably fine. So we are also going to need to upgrade that belt. And then I have no idea what was going on in here. The joy of trying to figure out old builds that are complete nonsense. Okay, so if we have you, and I guess we need even more, because we need 75, not just 50. So you can do even more steel pipes. Like that, I guess. And then we're also using some steel pipes over there, which is terrible for this. This old factory is such a mess. Alright, so we can at least do that. And then we have, theoretically, I don't know, I guess we can crank this up all the way. So we theoretically have 100 steel pipes. It's absolutely crazy how much demand for sand fluctuators this thing has. So that is 150 steel ingots. Now some of them are going to the steel beam production, but not very many. Actually, I can yoink that summer sloop. And then, okay, this one is also summer slooped, which I think I can also yoink that one. So now we have 225 steel, which is enough for that. And I think we need that to be a faster belt. So we just do that, and this is still buffering a little bit. So let's make that even faster, and then this is Mark II, which should be enough to keep up with this guy's demands, and then we can shove those summer sloops into there to make it even faster. And then the excess steel pipes are now making their way in, so this should be up to full speed now. Just knowing how much production time I wasted with this being awful. But we are going strong now. We could technically find another summer sloop somewhere to make this go marginally quicker, but that's probably just too much work. Okay, so that is that. And then I only have 21 power shards left. I am on my way towards synthetic power shards, which will be real cool, real nice to have. Until then, I'm sort of in a rough spot. If I had synthetic power shards already, I could just spam them in the converters and be, I think, done already. But I don't currently have synthetic power shards producing, so I can't do that. Although maybe I can... You don't have to type in synthetic for them, they're just power shards. Can I just, like, do a scuffed temporary setup just to get some to do this? It's time crystals, which I obviously have. That's the entire point of that factory. It's dark matter crystals, which I believe I can just bootstrap with some SAM, quartz, and photonic matter. Okay, so the quartz is the problem because there isn't any in that general area, but I guess I can just make that my main. So if I'm only having to input one additional thing, I'm just going to make that my synthetic power shards factory location. So we can just pop a train in to grab the quartz and then get started on that. Alright, so over we are, flying through the skies. Flying through the skies to a giant wall of converters. And here we are. Alright, so theoretically we can link this up and have all the time crystals we need. We just need to add a train on to grab quartz. So did I design this in a way which allows me to do that? We have these ones. This is sort of the main thing. Then we have this extra rail around for the coal, and then we don't really have any space at all set aside for another station, which means we're gonna have to get creative and just put it across the road. So we just go over here. We can get our station in. I don't know why, I originally thought this would be in, time crystals in one place and then power shards in another, but it just makes perfect sense to do the power shards here as well. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's place down some foundations. And all of those go in. Alright, we only are placing in one train station, so that should be enough space, I think. Alright, so you can go there. And hang on, wait, actually we need to clear out some space for the train blueprint to get this aligned properly, connected up to the network. And I believe one more. It's like a 4x3 or a 5x3. So let's get all that space out. And now you can just go in there. Alright, now we connect this up like that and that. That's too sharp apparently, which is annoying. So you go back to there and then out to there. Alright, so that is set up. Now we can get our train station in. And it just has to be lined up something like this. So you connect up to that. Then this will loop around behind. And our platforms will go in. 1, 2, 3. Need a little bit more space. And apparently even a little bit more space out that way. So we have 3 freight platforms. That's number 4, and that is number 5. So now this railway has to come out this way. Like that. And then it has to loop into here somehow. Which we can start like that, and then that should connect across. There we go. So that's all good. Now signals. You get a signal there. And you get a signal over here. And we need signals off of this. So you get a block signal there and a path signal there, which shouldn't break anything because this is already an intersection. And then there's never going to be any need to go directly across from here to there, so we can just ignore that. And then this is power, shards, quartz. Okay, now our consumption is all weird like that. And it's probably the time crystal production's fault. I wish I could prevent it and have it be a nice smooth line, but I don't think that's going to be super possible. Alright, so we get a train in here. We give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 freight cars, and you get called power, shards, quartz, and you are going to go to the quartz distributor and to here. And while you are here, you will wait until fully loaded or unloaded. And off you go. Okay, that's all set. And now we just have the quartz, the time crystals, and some weird shenanigans that we're going to have to do with Sam to get dark matter. But that's... So the dark matter is a thing that, like, once you jumpstart it, it works. So we shouldn't have to worry too much about that. So as far as power shards, how much quartz do we actually need here? So we need 600 quartz crystals for our insane overkill goal that we're setting up, which is quite a lot. Now, I kind of want to just like set up a quick version. So, first off, we need... How did you do this? The whole dark matter cycle thing. It's been a while since I've actually looked at that. And it's about time that I'm going to need to remember how to do it again. I remember basically what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to like combine dark matter with time crystals and just regular dark matter in order to manage byproducts. But I think for the power shards, because the power shards produces a lot of extra dark matter, that I think this is one where you're supposed to convert it all to dark, like excess dark matter crystals, and then use them for other things. So that's going to be a whole process, basically. Alright, so step one is, I believe, we need a converter to make dark matter residue. And we need a bit of reanimated SAM, which I think I actually took off of my dimensional storage at some point, so I'm going to need to attach that back in. Alright, but we just need a little bit to get this jump started, and then once we have some dark matter, it's not necessary anymore. Alright, so we're making dark matter residue, and then we need a quantum encoder, I think, and then we just sort of like awkwardly, of course it's all the way over that input. So you make, oh wait, no, was this done in particle accelerators? I think this was done in particle accelerators. I can't remember. Particle accelerator, yes. So we are going to be doing, I guess, just dark matter trap, because that's the one which provides the most. So then we send you into there. So this, we then power up. This is incredibly scuffed. And then we shove time crystals into that one. And that makes us dark matter crystals, which we can then do something with. So then the next thing we need is another converter here to make photonic matter, which is another input to our power shards thing. So power shards, we have time crystals, we have dark matter, we have quartz crystals, we have photonic matter. Alright, so then, how do you even make quartz crystals just like in a lazy way? So we could do pure quartz crystals, which would be smart for the full scale thing, but we just need to get some power shards now. So it's just in a constructor. Constructor, quartz crystals, powered up, and then I guess we can just run a belt up from one of these guys to you, just to get some quartz crystals started up. What did I do there? I didn't mean to do that at all. Alright, so that attaches up to there, which then goes into there and makes us quartz crystals. Theoretically, if... Oh, I need to set this to... I need to set this to unload. That's important. That's probably why I haven't been getting anything so far. Alright, so those are all set to unload. And now we just have to wait for the quartz train to come around. Which I don't see immediately. It's going to be up here somewhere probably. Yeah, there it is, just stuck in traffic. Sure, in the meantime I can just grab some quartz crystals from my inventory, I guess. Okay, and then we have a quantum encoder which makes synthetic power shards. And we have to take our dark matter crystals and pop them in there, and that will make dark matter residue back, which, let's see, that's 10 to 60. This would be, yeah, so this is definitely dark matter positive. Cool. Then we need to attach this one up. Scuffed setups like this are the best. Don't you just love them? Alright, so that has photonic matter as crystals. Now we need time crystals and quartz crystals. Switch up both of those in. And I guess we can power shard this guy just to make it go extra fast, which takes thousands of megawatts and burns a lot of quartz and a decent chunk of time crystals as well. Alright, so that can then connect across to there. I guess we will overclock you a little bit just for the sake of having it. Now, if you were to ever actually get quartz, that would be pretty good for getting this to run around the clock. So this is idle. Oh, it's idle because all the dark matter residue has come out. Okay, so where is our outputs? We have this output, which this is so incredibly cursed. I don't even know why I'm doing this at this point. Alright, so you loop back around to there to make dark matter crystals. And that should deal with that. And then I guess we can set up a storage container there so that any... Actually, no, the dark matter crystals need to go back into this. And then we do want the storage container because they're going to pile up after a bit. Alright, so that goes into there. And our quartz supply is obviously... We need more of it. Alright, so you get a box there. And then can we just give you a box to fill extra quartz crystals into? So those can be filled up like that. And now we can get our power shards. And we are getting our first quartz delivery, which hopefully we're not short on quartz. That would be annoying. Alright, so then this all is set up and ready to go. And now we have a not infinite supply of power shards, but we do have a solid good chunk of them before we run out of something or other and have to replace them. Alright, so here comes the quartz. So now that will be running properly through here. And so now the thing that would run out first would be the time crystals, probably. Because this, I mean, this is only like a third of the quartz, actually. No, we would still run out of the quartz first before anything else. Which I can delay by keeping that filled, and then I can grab some time crystals, which I have a solid supply of, to keep that filled. And it looks like this particle accelerator... Oh, you need time crystals too. Got it. Forgot that. So that is keeping that set up. Alright, and now if we go and we look for power shards, we've got another 40 of them. So how many do we need? We need effective 80 converters over there. 80 divided by 2.5, so we need 32, which I believe we actually already have. So then 32 times 3, we need 96 power shards minimum in order to get that whole thing running. And then we're going to need to set up a... And then we're going to need to tear this down once we have that and a solid buffer of another 10 or 20. We're going to tear this down and replace it with eventually a more proper setup with like ratios and stuff. So that will be fun. It's fun watching the coal go around in circles like that. Alright, so that is going. Time crystal supply is good there. Slightly less good there. So let's keep you fed and keep you fed. And yeah, hopefully this will be enough dark matter or enough power shards to have everything handled. And it's not going terribly slow. Not going terribly slow. Alright. I think I want to just get those power shards and finish off the time crystals today so that next time around we can revisit this and finish off the synthetic power shards part of the build. So we're just gonna sit around and wait a little while longer for those power shards to come through. We're up to 81. We're up to 81, and this looks like it's still going strong, producing power shards. So we should be fine to start overclocking. So let's head over here. Okay, why is that train just sitting there? Is it because that train is in the way? Weird. Alright, so we might have to look at making those intersections better, but it's probably fine. Alright, so let's just look at a random converter here. You, max overclocked, take 30 diamonds per minute and make 15 time crystals per minute. We want 480 time crystals. So 480 divided by 15 is 32. Yeah, so that checks out. The math all lines up. So how many do we have? We have... The second row is 4, right? So that's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, almost exactly 32. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. Alright, cool. That works out, I guess. So we have, looks like one extra blueprint over here that we can just get rid of. And then we need to get you overclocked and paste those settings all the way down the line. So that just goes along like this. And we just have to constantly flip between the same couple of buttons until this whole thing is pasted in. I will say that the third-person view of Factorio is a lot more convenient for this sort of thing. You can just sort of drag your mouse across the screen and do this. Alright. We ran out of power shards. Of course we did. Grab another 30 and get pasting again. I don't know where we ran out though. Alright, we made it all the way out to there. So that should be all set. And now we just need to merge them all up. So we get another row there. Also, now we need to think about the speeds of the diamond input, because each of those is so that belt is 60, that belt is 60 now exactly. So that this belt there, no, not like that. This belt is 120, as is this belt. Alright, so the current row we're doing has belts that are 120. So let's get all those set up. And you go to there. And you go out to there. We've got 2 more batches of these to go. And we're going to try to compress them towards the center, because that saves a whole lot of flying back and forth. And also saves a little bit of belt travel, although not all that much. Alright, so then that goes in, this comes along, and done. So now we have our 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of splitters. So we just need to get these guys connected up and again push towards the center, and don't place them in an unaligned way. So this is going to be 240, so we need most of a Mark III belt. So off we go, and in there. Then 1 more on this row, and we are almost done. So you go in there, and all the way down to this side. So just keep on placing the gigantic belts. There we are. Alright, now we just have this center bit, which is going to be, no, it can be a regular splitter. It needs to be 480 exactly. So those go along like this. And then finally we have this belt, which is 960, which is a nice, clean Mark VI belt. And you go in there. I have to set that one to any now. And off we go. Look at all those diamonds. Alright, now I am seeing yellow lights back here. What's your problem? Not enough fuel. Why is there not enough fuel? There's not enough heavy oil residue. Why is there not enough heavy oil residue? Because there's too much polymer resin. Did I do the math wrong? 16, 32, 64, 96. Did I not... Ah, I see. That sneaky little belt in there was Mark 1, which was preventing this whole thing from getting the polymer resin out fast enough, which caused the entire thing to be bricked. Alright, so let's fix that, clear all this stuff of polymer resin, and that should solve the problem, and then it's just a matter of how long it'll take to filter through. I know the turbo fuel was having some problems with that earlier, although it looks like the turbo fuel is still hanging in there. Just the internal reserves are buying time, and this should hopefully start back up relatively quickly. So like these are now going to be going around the clock again, and hopefully that all gets set up soon, because now we have our final output, which is time crystals, and they are not quite properly connected up. So you go across like that, and now we just have to set up the final output, which for this one we are going to have a dimensional storage, but more importantly a drone port. And hopefully the drone port can cover the resource demand. It might be too slow. We might actually need multiple drone ports or something. I don't know, we'll see. So obviously the belt into the drone port will be enough, but it's just a question of like whether the drones themselves can travel fast enough. Alright, so we need our box, which goes there, and it's left any center overflow. Then our next is a sink, which is going to get this. Actually, this is Mark 4 exactly, I think. Right? Because it's supposed to be 480. Yeah, so that should be fine. So we have that. And then we have the sink, which is going to be left overflow center any. And then we have a drone port. And then we're going to have a second drone port for refueling. Or actually, so this is the drone port that does the refueling, I guess. So you are time crystal refueler. And you get some fuel. And you get a drone. And you get sent to the rocket fuel source. And then we just have to power it up, which we got a power pole in here actually. So then that connects back to that guy. And you should be in the process of leaving to grab some fuel. Okay, then we have our Mark IV belt, which is going to go into the drone port. And I guess we will have to wait for the dimensional storage thing to fill up before we do that, but that's fine. You get a depot uploader. We're going to have to go over to the other place where we upload time crystals and get rid of that because it's no longer needed. So we have that. We have this. Did I label this? No, I need to. This is time crystal source. Alright. We are all set up. And how is power looking? Alright, max consumption is officially above production. Actual consumption is much lower, but still not ideal at all. Okay, so we've done that. We have finished off our time crystal production. We've got 480 of the things going into a drone port, where hopefully we won't have to use too many of them all at once, because that might get a bit dicey. But it's pretty cool. I don't normally work with insane quantities. Let's actually drop down and look at our coal here. Yeah, so this should be 4 belts of 100%. It's currently not going quite correctly, but I think that will work itself out as we go. So yeah, I think we're in a good enough spot to wrap up for the day. So thanks ever for hanging out. We will be back in Satisfactory on Tuesday, where we will be doing our proper synthetic power shard factory, and then maybe some ionized fuel as well for the jetpack, and maybe, I don't know, maybe to do some fuel production just to keep the dark matter running. But anyways, that is going to be it for the day. I will be doing Factorio tomorrow, if you're interested in that, where we are very slowly but surely building up towards launching a rocket to go visit a second planet. So that will be exciting. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Make sure to follow if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next time.